Okay, we are 3 minutes in. So let me officially welcome everyone to the first language class. I'm sorry, let me backtrack. Let me welcome everyone to the first technology workshop this semester. And thank you all for coming in. Today we're going to be talking about asynchronous classroom interactions with ed discussion. And I'm using the word interactions here deliberately because it's a little bit more all-encompassing than discussions. There are a few extra things, or a lot more things that you can do with ed discussion than you can do with just regular discussion boards that you have access to in Canvas. And speaking of Canvas, ed is now, as of this semester, fully integrated with Canvas. So even though it is a third-party thing, you don't have to install anything new on your computer. It just sits there. So what is it actually? Why should we be interested in this system, in this platform? Well, it is a platform that can be used for facilitating interactions that are largely asynchronous. So that is the first cue on its possible applications to us, to language instructors. It is also threaded, meaning that it allows you to create multiple threads. And likewise, it allows you to manage them, it allows you to organize them, and it allows you to also do that with all sorts of privacy and moderation features in mind, which is really nice. And it's something that is currently absent from the discussions feature that is available to us, or has been available to us in Canvas. What it also does better than Canvas is that it supports all sorts of content, some of which is a little bit less relevant to us as language instructors, some of it a little bit more relevant to us, and we will look into some of the examples of what kind of content can be included, can be posted within these interactions, within these discussions. In the meantime, let me just say hello to Naoko. Hi, Naoko. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you with us. We just started. And as I mentioned, it is now fully integrated with Canvas, which is super convenient. The goals for our session today, we don't have a whole lot of them, but I think that is okay too. I distilled everything to just 3 main points. We will get some familiarity with the platform. I think that between the workshop, the recording, and then the quick start guide, you guys should be all set to start exploring it for the purpose or within the context of your classes. We will see how we can set it up so that it works in our courses right away. And we will also see how we can manage it. And by managing it, we will see how we can create threads for our students, how we can post responses to these threads, and how we can interact with these responses. So with all that being said, why should we care about ed discussion? Why not just stick to what's already in Canvas? Well, first and foremost, from the pedagogical standpoint, we should be paying attention to it because it is a really useful, a really good tool to enhance and to facilitate asynchronous communication. Because of how it's put together, it is great for out-of-class collaboration. Again, it is in Canvas, but it's third party as well, which means that students can have access to it through other sort of avenues. It is very user-friendly, as you will see, which Canvas isn't always, and it is very well organized. It just makes sense. And as I mentioned already, it supports a whole lot of content types. So how can it be used? Well, right off the bat, we can offer it to our students as a collaborative space to learn, to interact, and to build a community of learning, which arguably is something that is a little bit difficult to do within the context of the classroom. But now that this tool is available, it may be a little bit easier. What I find particularly good about Ed that Canvas doesn't really do as well is that it is really nice for Q&A. And that is because students can post questions and answers to each another anonymously, which sort of takes away this, edge of, okay, how, like, what if I, say something wrong, or just be students sometimes are self-conscious about their input. This just takes that away. Their identities are visible to you as an instructor, but not to each other. So that is encouraging. That could be motivating. And then also you as instructors can then, and we'll see how we can do that. You can then endorse certain answers or certain posts that are particularly good, and sort of designate them as the go-to answers. So peer review activities are just one type of task, or one type of activity that is intuitive in conjunction with Ed, but there may be others, and we will hopefully have the time to tease out some of the things that we can do with Ed. Okay. So with that being said, are there any questions, suggestions, contributions after this short introduction? No, because it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, let's get right into the business then. So what I will do is I will switch over to Canvas. This is what our Canvas, or my Canvas specifically, looks like. And those of you who have been coming to these workshops are thoroughly familiar with the LRC Sandbox 1 course, which is where we will also host today's work, or today's demonstration. Okay, so I mentioned originally that that Ed discussion is already included in Canvas. So, well, let's see if it's here. I don't really have it. There's this discussion feature, but that is something that was already here before. So let us go ahead and enable it. Let us go to settings, and the navigation tab is already up. Let me scroll down here, and at the very bottom, there it is, Ed discussion. I'm going to go ahead, enable it. And if you are so inclined, you can at the same time disable the default discussions that are sort of already baked.
Simon, could you please make your fonts a little larger?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Abdul. Absolutely. Tell me when. Is this good? Too big, too small? Need some feedback?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay. Make it just a little bit smaller because, oh, here we go. Okay. So let me go ahead and disable the discussions. And of course, we do need to save everything. All right, there we have it. And so somewhere in here, we should now be able to see Ed discussion, and indeed, there it is. So let us open it up. And you see that it opened in a separate tab, and it already came up pretty populated with a whole bunch of things. So let us take a cursory look over those. The first few ribbons, the first few boxes are already pre-configured, pre-populated for you. The code, the name, the year, the session. Under no circumstances are you to meddle with any of that. Leave it as is, even though you may be tempted to rename it. Just if you do that, there will be problems. So just leave those as they are. Having opened up and enabled this feature in Canvas, you will notice that the next thing that should happen is we should add some students to it, right? This is an important point. By default, you will not have any students enrolled in this discussion platform. This is something that you will have to do on your own. The recommended way to do it is to sync it with the LMS. And by the LMS, for us, that would be Canvas. In other words, if you already have students that enrolled in the course for which, like our LRC Sandbox, you're trying to enable the discussion forum, just go here, sync with everyone, or sync with everyone. That would include your TAs, and if you have any, or just with students, and that should take care of the business. I'm not going to be able to do that because I have no students in my Sandbox class. So what I will do instead is I will invite you to join me for the purpose of this workshop. But before I do that, I wanted to note that it is something that the folks at Discussion do not recommend that you do. The safe way to do it is just to sync it with the LMS. Since we are feeling pretty risky today, we're just going to go ahead and do it via an access link. So let me see. There we go. So this is the link that you can click to join the discussion for this workshop. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat for you as well. So let me do it right now. So again, this is something that is presented to us right when we open Ed the very first time. If we just scroll down a little bit, there is the join link that we can enable and share. It works similar to how we can join, let's say, Google Docs in that sense. That is, again, not a recommended solution. The recommended thing to do is to just sync everything with Canvas. But because we are in a slightly different situation, we will try to join in through a link. One other idea that you may perhaps find useful is if you have a guest from outside of Colombia whom you would like to invite maybe to participate in class discussions, you can share that link with that guest and have that person join that way. Otherwise, he or she would have to go through Canvas enrollment, and it is just messy. So that's, something that you may be able to do. Okay, Chris is pointing out to me that the Sandbox one has not been activated yet. Yes, I see it. It is coming up in a couple minutes. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so that means that you clicked on the link, which is really good. Before we activate the course, let us just run through a few other things here. You can also invite users by typing their emails. That is also an option available to you. And, that's about it. So let me go ahead and save this. You always want to save stuff. And moving down, let us, before, again, activating things, let us check up the actual discussion options, discussion features that we may want to take a look at when we want to configure before making the discussion section live, before activating it, okay? So there are a few things that should be catching our attention. I'm not going to go through all of them, just the most important things. So the very top of the list are categories. And those are already pre-populated. They are here to sort of best reflect the needs of your course. So in other words, how you would like to structure your discussions. For me, I'm just going to get rid of those altogether and maybe replace them with just 2 categories. Let's say course logistics and maybe grammar. Okay, so those are going to be our 2 categories that we will use in this workshop. And moving down, can you enlarge your font again? Yes. Carol, tell me how, tell me when, okay? Is it good? Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, where were we? Okay. Perfect. So, okay, our categories have been enabled. So let us go now to thread templates. And those allow you to sort of help structure the threads by category. And let me explain to you what I mean. So let's say that, but within these thread templates, let's focus on grammar. And within that, that template, I'm gonna try to do or try to help students ask questions or provide contributions in a way that would be useful to me as an instructor, but also useful to their colleagues. And we can do it in a number of ways. I will do it with questions, right? So let's say that when opening a grammar-focused thread, I want them to be very specific about what grammatical point did you find confusing? And maybe, to be even more specific, what is it about, about this grammatical point that tripped you up? Okay, so essentially, what will happen is whenever a student opens up a grammar thread, the grammar thread will come pre-populated with these 2 questions, sort of a reminder to keep focused on the things that are important, things that matter. Let me go. So having this defined, let's move on to the discussion features. And those are pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to be going over those. I think what's important here is to point out here is that there is add makes a distinction between private threads and threads that are anonymous, or private and anonymous interactions. So in other words, students are able to make contributions anonymously without their names being shown to each other. Their names will be visible to you. Likewise, you as an instructor can also, and this may be more applicable to situations where you have TAs, make certain things private so that only you and or TAs have access to. So without going too much into detail, again, this is already described here. I will leave it as is. And instead, I'm going to scroll down to saved replies, which is exactly what it indicates. It is, it is essentially a repository of canned responses that you can use to save time. So, maybe just to give an example, let's say that let's create one that says office hours. And here, let's say something like, if you need more help, please come to my virtual, maybe, office hours every Wednesday at 4 p.m. And you can even insert the Zoom link. for them. And to do that, we'll just highlight the text, hyperlink it, and there we go. So, you know, something like this. Okay. There's one more feature that deals with moderation, and that allows you the opportunity to take a look at the post. Somebody's TV is on. Take a look at the posts or your students' contributions before they're actually posted. And that's about it. We are not going to be talking about code, language snippets, because that doesn't really pertain to us as much. So with that being set up, I'm just going to go ahead and save it. And I will make the course live. And having done that, I think you should be able to now see something that you can actually interact with. I know it may look something like this. Yes, no? Okay, Chris, give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. We are at about 30-minute mark. Are there any questions at this point? Okay. Okay, great. Well, our discussion space is prepared. Let's populate it. Let's start a new thread. And we can do that as instructors by clicking this button here. Things may look slightly different on your end, which is completely okay. So here we have the post wizard. Okay, so we can all see what's on the screen. Excellent. I'm gonna just remove this symbol here. Okay, so this is the post wizard. The very first thing that we see are 3 boxes, and those are the post or thread types. It can either be a question thread, we can have a post thread, and we can have an announcement thread. And this is relevant for how these threads can be interacted with. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Questions sort of default, which gives you these options for interaction. You can, pin your questions, and we'll go into those a little bit later. We can also choose to make a post, which is a little bit different than a question, but it comes with a with a lot more options that our students can use to interact with the post. And then finally, there's the announcement type, which is the only type that comes with an email. And this is something that can be only generated by the instructor. All students get an email when an announcement is made. So let us maybe stick to the question post, and let us give it a title. And the title could be something like happening at the LRC this semester. And here we have the 2 categories that we predefined in the previous step, grammar or course logistics. Let us select the course logistics here. That seems more, a little bit more fitting. And let us then create the actual body of the discussion thread. So I don't know now we're about a month into the semester. Which events are you planning to attend this semester, and why? Okay. And to make the selection a little bit easier, make the answer a little bit easier, let me insert a file here. And by the file, I mean the brochure that we have prepared for this semester. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this button here and upload the file. Let me So this is going to be the brochure, and maybe we can also, to demonstrate some of the more expanded content types that we can interact with and add, let us, I don't know, insert, let's do this, on the attached calendar below, mark the events that you are planning to attend. And here, I will use the image annotator function, which requires an image first. So let me upload from computer. And this is an older image, but oh, here you go. This is fine. So this is just an example, and it is one of the older flyers. But what you can do with it is you can use this tool. There are no images on this page that can be annotated. Okay. There we go. So perfect. So within this image, what you can do now is you can annotate various things, or you can have your students, let's say, you know, highlight the things that they're interested in, or the things that you tell them to interact with. So for the purpose of our workshop, this is pretty simple. Just asking the participants what it is that they're interested in. But of course, you know, there are different ways in which this can be scaffolded. This is one of the many content types that are available to us. We can also input regular text, we can input videos, or similarly to how we could do it in Canvas, we can also input iframes or various code snippets, or web snippets, which I'm not going to get into at this point. Okay, this looks pretty good to me. Let us see if there's anything that we need to modify here at the bottom. There's no need to hide our name from the students. There's no need to make this private. We do want our students to be able to see it. And as far as the pinned posts go, this essentially puts your threads on top of the list. And this is relevant if, you know, we have more than one thread. For now, we will just leave it at that. All right, let us post it. And here we are. So now that I've posted it, you guys should be able to see it in your course. And what I would like you to do is to respond to it, to interact with it. Okay. So let us maybe take a minute or two to comment or to respond to this thread. And let me know if you have any questions, if anything is not clear. Okay, well, we have some good news here. All of these, I'm not sure of all of them, but a number of these past presentations were recorded and are linked on our website on lrccolumbia.edu. So if you are interested, I invite you to check them out. There's also there are also slide decks posted when available, some pictures. So it's pretty pretty nice trip, could be pretty nice trip down the memory lane. Okay. And Carol actually took advantage of marking of what of the actual program that you would like to see. Okay, great, very good. Okay, so you guys, you know, get a hang of it. A couple of things here that you may have noticed already is that there are these hearts on the side, and they function the same way that you may be familiar with from things like Twitter. That's why it took me so long. Okay, no, but this is great. This is really good. I particularly like this contribution, and you know, I'm even gonna check it as an indication that this question has been answered, and that this is the answer that I am particularly as an instructor that I would like the students to pay attention to. And it's, you know, not to dismiss any of the other answers. You know, it's just this one takes advantage of the image annotation feature. And perhaps I would even want to endorse it as the correct answer to this question, which, if I do, becomes labeled with this endorsed label on top. And this is how your students know that, okay, this is the answer that I like, this is the instructor likes, this is the answer that they should be paying attention to. Okay, there are a few things left to point out at the very top of this discussion thread. As mentioned, we can pin it, moving it on top to the top of the list. We can also star it, and by starring it, this is just an internal note to you that this, you know, may be something that you as a student or you as a course staff may want to come back to. It works in a similar way to how Lion Mail works, or how starring Lion Mail works. And there's also the watching feature, which is enabled by default. And this essentially has to do with whether or not you want to be notified of any kind of interactions that your students may be having with the thread. Okay, so you can be notified about any and all activity in this thread. What else did I want to point out here? This is really good. You guys all participated. This is fantastic. But what about students who, you know, are enrolled in the course but didn't, you know, or maybe a little bit shy or not really participating? What Ed does, and again, what Canvas doesn't really do very well, is it allows you to sort of draw these students in, and you can do it by what's called mentions. So let me see who posted responses here. All right, it doesn't look like Abdul posted anything. So let me mention Abdul here. And what do you want to, or what, let's see, what are you interested in this semester? Going to post it now. I suspect that Abdul didn't enroll in the course, otherwise this would have been highlighted. But if he did, then he would be receiving a notification with this specific question coming from me as an instructor. So again, this is something that you know, could be used to attract students or draw them into the communication, into the conversation. And last but not least, scrolling to the top, you notice that there is a search function here. Again, something that we don't have in Canvas discussions. And it works similarly to what you guys are used to from Lion Mail. We can identify various threads by the topic, by who responded to them, maybe even by keywords, so on and so forth. Here we only have one, so there isn't, you know, a whole lot to demonstrate. Okay, so far so good. There's one more thing that may be of interest to you in this workshop, and that is discussion polls or quick straw polls that Ed allows you to generate. So to demonstrate, let's maybe open up a new thread, and it's going to be a question, and it's going to be about course logistics. And let's see, will you, the title will be Ed in the language class. And I'm going to move over to the text editor. And you notice that there is this thunderbolt icon here in the upper left-hand corner that we haven't really touched on. So let us click on it and let us generate a quick poll. And so the question here will be, how do you think you may use Ed discussion in your class? And there are multiple options that we can choose from. So I don't know, homework, short written assignments, a class dictionary. That's something you can do. Grammar resource where students can post their own explanations for various grammatical features, and maybe, I don't know, all the above. And let's allow multiple answers. And you notice that you can close this poll automatically whenever you feel like it. But the thing is that you can also always close it on your own when the time is right. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And I will invite you to, in a second, once I post this question, I will invite you to participate in this particular poll. So take a few minutes to indicate your possible potential preferences. For me, that would be definitely all the above. Okay. And you see, as the participants are contributing in real time, these the results become available. Okay, so I think it's like Reddit for university classes. Yeah, kind of. I was resisting that comparison because I don't know if our audience knows or uses Reddit, but yeah, that if you guys are on Reddit, it's really similar. It works like that. Okay, let me close the poll. And with it closed, you see that those are you can see the results that came through, and this is really this could be used to sort of gauge student interests. Maybe something as could be an assessment instrument, and maybe towards the formative end, where you can quickly check in with your students whether they understand something, or or how they feel about the course itself. So there are many uses for that, and sorry, so there are many uses for that. And it's really up to you how you're thinking about employing it. Now, once a poll is closed, it's not the end of the world. If any of your students would like to change their answers, you can always reopen it. And thereby you will allow the participants opportunity to interact with it again. So I'm going to close the poll here again. And that's it, I think. So this would be a very brief general overview of Ed and what the platform itself has to offer. And with that being demonstrated, what I would be interested in is, of course, your questions first and foremost, but also, if there is anything that you can think of that you could, or any situation you can employ this tool in, either within class, maybe outside of the class, or written activities, or for other purposes. So if there's anything that you would like to share, I'd be very interested in hearing, and I'm pretty sure that your colleagues would be too.
How would you use this to create like a class dictionary? Because I was thinking that would be cool, but then where do you store the results?
So the results would be stored in Ed itself. And one way to structure it could be, perhaps opening up a thread, and, since it's not a question, let's make it a post. And let's, we can name it a classroom dictionary. And for the prompt, you may want to be, as specific or as unspecific as you want, really, depending on what kind of dictionary you're envisioning. But let's say, pick a word just for an example, right? A term from class and define it using, I don't know, an image. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and post it, and maybe even, pin it on top so that it's something that students have access to.
Mm-hmm.
And then each student in the comment will then add an item. Now, I'm proposing this simply because Ed has the search feature. So, if there's a word, you can do it for grammar as well, that has appeared that, students may find particularly troublesome, they can search for it here, right? Word. And it's going to come up in the results. So that may be, one of the ways in which you can go about that. Does it make sense? Abdul, I don't know if you had your hand up or you just unmuted.
No, I'm unmuted. Yeah.
Okay.
You asked me a question?
No, I'm just, asking for maybe ideas how you guys could, think, or how you guys could use this. Because one way would be, of course, to create a dictionary or a grammar resource that is collaborative, where that each student can contribute to. Another way, could be as a discussion thread, perhaps as a space for short written assignments. I mean, there are ways to utilize this. So I'm just curious if you have any ideas beyond that.
I have an idea.
Go ahead, Chris.
I really like how you can embed images. So you could have an image from, a cultural scene, and students respond to it with either what they think is going on or some type of, response to it. And then you can have students responding to the response. So it grows and becomes kind of a iterative thing.
So yeah, this embedded responding that Chris has just mentioned, let us see how this actually works and works. So you see that at the very top of each thread, there's the prompt itself, and then the responses are listed at the bottom. But then within or beneath each response, you can add a comment, and these comments can then also accept replies, and so on and so forth. So you can have these threads within threads that are multi-level, that could be really insightful or really entertaining, or both. Okay.
I guess I'm thinking I use Padlet to do that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
I appreciate the ease of Padlet and how the students are always interacting with each other and they can post responses to each other's stuff. But I guess there is also a size limitation on Padlet that there isn't here. That's
Mhm.
one thing. And then this also has a search function, which I don't think that Padlet has, which can also be very helpful.
Yeah, Padlet is not right. Padlet is not searchable. So this is already functionally more useful, but also it's just structured in a different way, and you can organize Padlet visually however you want. This is sort of imposed on you, but with that imposed structure, there are common advantages, right? Also, Padlet is a tool that we language instructors have access to at Columbia, but it is worthwhile to keep in mind that it is not a tool that is formally integrated with Canvas. The LRC provides customer support, and we will continue to do it throughout this upcoming academic year at least. But with Ed, there are some functionalities I think that are transferable, and some of the skills that are transferable to a platform that is more or less for good embedded in Canvas, right? So there's that. But yeah, good point.
No, I think it's this is useful. One needs to play around with it and look into it. It has a lot of potential and a lot of things to do, which means I am going to come to you or Chris, and we're going to play around with this, with some of the ideas that I have.
Okay, perfect. Chung, do you have a comment, question?
Yes. I think actually the Ed discussion quite similar to the normal discussion now, because I use this for this semester. I ask students to do the blog every week, and the discussions functions that ask students to write the weekend blog. Depend on the different topic of every week we have. And the student have to comment to at least two others classmates blog. So I think that for the normal discussion, I also can to embed the pictures or the video, or the student also can do comment by audios, by written. Yeah, so I think maybe the function quite similar. The only thing I see the difference is the poll, that we can do the poll in the Ed discussions.
So yeah, the polling is definitely a convenient addition when it comes to commenting on each other's work for the students. What I find very useful in Ed is the anonymity, the opportunity to do it anonymously. Anonymity would be the word. So you can structure your threads in a way that allows for anonymous student responses and feedback. And with that sort of, with the name not being, I mean, you as an instructor will of course see it, right? But students will not know who is commenting, which could be useful in the sense that you may be able to generate a kind of discussion that otherwise may not necessarily take place if these identities are known or revealed.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we can use for discussion is like the function as an exit card. So chapters or lesson, you can ask students to write the feedback from for you. So the same thing for the grammar structures.
Exactly.
Or the question or the concern that still haven't to get it from the chapters. So we also can use as discussion for that.
Yeah. Okay, those are good suggestions. Thank you for those. Let me switch over to the slide deck here. As I mentioned, there is a quick start guide that all of you should have. If you don't have it, I will put it in chat one more time. And you can also click on this link here in the slide deck to download it directly. It is very useful, and it lets you set things up, pretty quickly, pretty seamlessly for the course. So the first thing that I'm sharing is the slide deck, and then the second is the quick start handout. It covers some of the things that we covered in class, not in class, in this workshop. And again, very, very accessible visually and other ways. Okay, so in summary, what we talked about today is we covered how to set up a discussion within your course, how to configure the various parameters, various settings, and how to make it live, how to activate it for the course. We also went over creating and managing discussion threads and some of the ways in which these threads can be interacted with. And then we concluded everything by touching on the discussion poll option, which is, as we mentioned, a useful addition. So, so that would be this workshop. This is the only event, the only workshop that we are hosting this week. For next week, our colleagues at Yale are hosting a talk by Kathy Bauman of the University of Chicago, who will be talking about assessment and backwards design. Everybody is invited to attend. It will be on Thursday, as mentioned, at 12:45 p.m. As soon as I get the registration links and more information, I will send it over to you guys. And with clock striking 4.
I have a question. I highly recommend everyone to join the workshop for next week from Kasriba. It's so great. I have that chance with her for this summer with the workshop from the University of Chicago. It's very wonderful. But next Thursday, I cannot because I have class. It's so pity that I cannot to join. But I can see from the video, right, Simon?
Yes. I think there will be a recording. I will have to ask them if how it will be accessible. But yes.
But it is very interesting workshop, I think. So I highly recommend everyone that can come for that one. Okay. Thank you very much, Simon. I have to go now. Have a great evening to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one thing that I wanted to add to build up on what Chung was saying is that it's not going to be a workshop as much as a talk. So a little bit less interactive, but still very useful, and we encourage you to show up.